These are the 9.5 notes for algebra. We're talking about probability tables today. So, definition of a probability table. It's a table that displays the probability that a random variable takes on certain values. So, the first thing we're going to do is kind of read through this sentence. For example, the following probability distribution table tells us the probability that a certain soccer team scores a certain number of goals in a given game. So, Ben Davis played 20 games, so we'll need that as our total. I'm just going to circle that. And then they actually give us the number of the goals. So we're going to fill in this table first, right here, the number of times these goals happen. So how many times are there or 0 goals scored? So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we just write 4. And we kind of just continue that process. So count up how many ones there are. 1, 2, 3. How many 2s there are. 1, 2, 3, 7. How many 3s there are. 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many 4s there are. 1, 2. All right. And then we have our total, which we said was 20. And in order to get the probability, we're going to divide the number of times by the total. So 4 divided by 20. And then we just type that into our calculator. And that would get us 0.2. And then same thing, 3 divided by 20. And you could write that out if you wanted to, or you could just kind of like type it into your calculator. 0.15. And then the rest of those, I'll just go ahead and type into my calculator. 7 divided by 20, 0.35. 0.2 and 0.1. The thing about the probabilities, they will always total up to 1, always. So you could double check that at the end if you needed to, just add up all the probabilities. All right, so once we have the probabilities in, then we're just going to answer these couple questions. So find the probability that the team scored 0 or 2 goals. So if you're talking about more than one category, 0 or 2, you're going to look at the 0 and the 2, and you're just going to add up these numbers. So 0.2 plus 0.35. It gets us 0.55. So you're actually just adding up the probabilities. All right, let me erase that. We can look at this next one. What's the probability that the team scores 2 or more? Let's see, 2 or more would be 2, 3, or 4. So we're going to add up these probabilities here. So 0.35 plus 0.2 plus 0.1. Just type in your calculator. And if you want to write out how you did it, that might be helpful for later. There we go, 0.65. All right, find the probability that the team scores 1 or less. So 1 or less would be 1 or 0. So that would be 0.15 for the 1 and 0.2 for the 0. Add those up and we get 0.35. Letter D, find the probability that the team scored an odd number of goals. So your odd numbers would be 1, 3. In this case, there is no 5, so just 1 and 3. So the 1 probability would be 0.15. The 3 probability would be 0.2. And that would get us 0.35 again. All right. So the best way to represent these probability tables is with a histogram. So remember we talked about histograms, dot plots, and our pie charts. So histogram is really the best way. Notice on this side here, it's the probability, not the amount of time. So we've made histograms before with the number of times. This time we're going to make it with the probability. So as we look at it, your 0 goals is going to be 0.2. Which you can see is right here. So I'm just going to kind of make this little bar graph right there, histogram. And then it's up to you how you do this. You can either leave the bars disconnected, not touching each other, or you can squeeze them all together and make them all touching. Completely up to you how you do it. All right, the next one goal had a probability of 15.15, so right there. 2 goals had a 0.35 all the way up here. And then 3 goals would be 0.2. Ideally, these would all be the same size, but my drawings are terrible right now. And 4 goals would be 0.1, so just a little thing at the end like that. Nice. All right. Then on the back side, what they do a lot of the times is they just give us the probability table already filled in. So it's like they just gave us this column, and then they left that off. So that's kind of what's happening here on the back side. So remember, the probabilities have to add up to 1 or 100% if you think about it in percents. This is talking about the probability that for the different attendance at a college visit to Ball State. So each of these probabilities have to add up to 1. So what we need to do in order to find this missing one, we have to do 1 minus 0.46 minus let me write it out like this. So 39, we do 1 minus 0.46 minus 0.3 minus 0.12 minus 0.03. Keep in mind, 0.3 and 3 are different, so just be careful there. And then minus 0.01. So in order to fill in the blank, we're going to have to do 1 minus all of the probabilities that we know. And so then we just type it into our calculator. Should get us an answer of 0.08. And you can always double check your work, add up all the probabilities again, make sure they give you 1. All right, now once we have the table filled in, then we can just answer each of these questions. E says, find the probability that 39 students attended. Well, actually, that's just what we did to fill in the blank. So 39 would be 0.08. All right, part F, find the probability that 38 or more students attended. So 38, 39, 40, 41. So that'd be 0.12 plus 0.08 plus 0.03 plus 0.01. And we add those up. Gets us 0.24. All right, find the probability that an even number of students attended. So if I'm looking at my even numbers, and when we talk about the number of students, we're talking about this particular group, not the probabilities. So an even number of students would be 36, 38, 40. 0.46 plus 0.12 plus 0.03. That gets us 0.61 as a total. All right, and then part H, find the probability that the number of students attending was not 36. Notice the word not. So not 36 would mean all of them except 36. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can add up all the ones that are not 36. So you can add up the 37, 38, 39, 40, 41 probabilities. Or if you notice that 36 is just that's one category, you could also do 1 minus the 46 because you know the total is 1. So 1 minus the 0.46 will give us 0.54. Or if you wanted to, you could total them all up. So 0.3 plus 0.12 plus 0.08 plus 0.03 plus 0.01 would also give you 0.54. So whichever way you understand better is the way I would suggest to do it. All right, one more example at the bottom just to make sure we got the hang of it. You got the number of cars that people have per household and then our probability. First thing we're going to do, find the blank. We'll do 1 minus each of these, 0.03, 0.13, minus 0.22, minus 0.04, Gets us 0.58, and that's what's going to go in our blank. All right. And then I actually asks us for the probability that a household has 3 cars. On the last problem, it asks us for the number in the blank, but this time it kind of switches it up. It just asks for the 3 cars. That would be 0.22. Find the probability that a household has 2 or 3 cars. Add up the 2 with the 3. Gets us 0.8. Probability that a household has 2 or fewer cars, so 2, 1, or 0. So add up the 2 probability, the 1 probability, and the 0 probability, and gets us 0.74. And then the last one, find the probability that a household has no cars. No cars would be 0, so the probability of 0 would be 0.03.